Okay.
And luckily they don't do bylaws. So the bylaws work from the regulatory committee. It's not going to impact on that piece of work.
That's comforting, thank you. Still worried about the other thing, but anyway. So, and the other thing is, because this is international, etc., we talk about your staff, but how do we work in with ATED, because that's our international stuff. We haven't talked about here about how that's involvement. We know that we're already worried about overseas trips, etc. in that department. Have we factored in any of that? As a council family, we're supposed to be working together.
So yes, we have talked to ATED and they're supportive, and we do have a global partnerships team, and we are very aware of the conversations council have been having about international trips, which is why we are very happy that that the music industry could represent Auckland in this matter, and therefore there's potential that it potentially in this term, because this is a commitment beyond this term, that money would not need to fall to ratepayers.
I understand that, but quite often we might have someone from ATED accompanying. This always happens, and we don't get to make those decisions. So I guess that's just
so we can
a
pick
thought
that up
a thought
through the process.
Yep,
What we're going to suggest, and we won't put it in the recommendations, but we'll note that perhaps Councillor Philippaina, myself and Councillor Simpson, she's expressed support, may form a little sort of sounding board together with the Mayor to just kind of check this as it proceeds. So I don't want to have a great big formal working party, but I think just a little advisory team for the Mayor would be a good idea. So I've got Councillor Clow, Member Wilcox and Councillor Watson, and then I think we'll move on to the decision. So Councillor Clow.
Yeah, I just wonder in the resolution whether we should be having something that relates to statement number 44, paragraph, because I'll just go back to the point again that music in Auckland, a lot of it happens on Sunday, and it's out there in all the churches, that we're just emphasising Māoridom and Pacifica music just as a deep cultural thing, and because we're passing it on to the industry, but I think we should be doing quite a bit of this work, which we are, because I think this is a credible responsibility. But I just wonder if we should have some reference to the key goal of Toi Whitiki, which is to integrate arts and culture, and that's kind of not been emphasised there. And I say again, this is fantastic, but to me, I'm reading there's a lot of emphasis on individual groups and individuals and that, and not so much whole cultural sectors. And I'm saying cultural meaning ethnic sectors.
Should be everybody.
Because, that's a key part of Auckland. We're the biggest Polynesian city in the world.
Okay. So is that in the recommendations, or is that simply in partnership agreement with the negotiations with the music industry? My sense is it's kind of sleeved and woven all the way through this application. Maybe the undertaking is simply to make it more efficient.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, I just said to Councillor Clow that within Toi Whitiki, it's actually enmeshed in there.
Yeah.
In our strategy, our council one, and I know that Mark replied that he will also include that when the application is processed.
And we can check. Yeah. So I've got Member Wilcox.
Whitiki.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Got a couple of questions.
No.
I suppose the first one is, I notice in 46 and 48 we're promoting the reo. So just on the key milestones here, February 2017, I take it that we're a month behind. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yes. So in the letter of endorsement from the Mayor, and in keeping with our te reo policy, and also the tripartite agreement that we signed a couple of years back, would the Mayor's letter also be in the reo as well as in English?
You'll probably be writing it for me, Glenn.
Why don't we just say yes?
No cost.
Mayor Goff will use his best video to
My
craft the
rail
letter, and
will
you
not probably
check
take me
it.
that far, but we'll seek your guidance.
And secondly to that, I mean, we've had quite a few Māori singers, whatnot, Tama Waipara being one of them, working for us, and I think is he still with Arts Festival? Or
Arts
is he
Festival.
Yeah, so is there a general buy-in within just our own Māori connections that for something like this, that this is something that could deliver for Māori as well as others?
I think it was Mark touched on it just before about that the uniqueness in Cross and International Network, and I think we as a staff and as a sector that I engage with, it's very clear that we want to build on that to become our internationally unique and rich offering. So I think there is a genuine buy-in in that aspect.
Thank you.
Okay, happy, Member Wilcox? All right. Councillor Watson?
Oh, no, I'm ready to speak to it. Is that we're starting now?
Good, excellent. Margot?
Yeah, I'm
Happy
just
do
wanting
the
to speak
speaking?
to it. Yeah.
Excellent. So we're out of questions. So the speaking order then is Councillor Filipaina, Councillor Watson, Margot.
Thank you, Chair. And again, when it came through to the deputation in our last committee, there was also overwhelming support to further this. And I'm glad that the questions that have been asked by councillors around this table is asking around monies and staff time, because I applaud their questions, because all the questions should be asked of any of the items that have the money, and I again applaud Mark for your commitment to this. So look, I'm Chair, definitely in regards to option 2, I was pleased when I read the agenda in regards to 39 and the people that have indicated general support. I also contacted our support person with the Pacific Music Awards, and they are also very supportive of the application. From my perspective, and I look forward to any further reports, Richard and Marie, that may come to the group that the Chair has indicated around any issues that may arise as a result of the application. I do, however, want to comment on and support the comments that have been made around any support going to UNESCO. If the Mayor or his deputy or anybody else cannot go, and I would suggest it'd be better that we end up getting the music industry to go to end up supporting, but to go through as our representative. That is the better option, I think, from myself, and I think from this. So I fully support option 2, and I just look forward to the other councillors who are going to support it, of getting this application process completed. Thank you, Chair.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Filipaina. Councillor Watson.
Thank you. I support it as well, and very succinctly for 2 reasons. One, point 31, the music sector has indicated it will lead the application process and take responsibility for ongoing obligations. So that's very clear. And there's obviously been a very clear message put out in terms of financial resourcing in the future and how constrained that is. So that's reassuring. The other reason I support as a more pragmatic one is when you look at some of the benefits that have accrued to some of these other cities that have become members of the Creative Cities Network. If you look at Glasgow, for instance, 5 out of 6 biggest Scottish employers in music are based in Glasgow now. This is since they joined in 2008. Half the country's music workforce works there. And the highest density of higher education institutes offering music courses, and the largest number of music students are all in Glasgow now. So they sing the praises very highly of being a part of that Creative Cities network. and I'm not usually a big one for putting too much stock in branding. You know, that often seems as kind of sort of ad man speak, but in some of these brandings do have an effect. So if you think of Glasgow now, it kind of resonates with the city of culture. It was European city of murders at the same time, had the highest murder rate in Europe, but what has prevailed since then is this notion of this creative, vibrant city, and Auckland is already well on the way to kind of establishing that, but not really in a brand sense. So, as I said, I'm not usually a big one on those kind of superficialities, but I think in this instance, I think this will kind of focus in on what we're already becoming, and that will have a lot of the sort of beneficial effects that's happened in places like Glasgow. So, for that reason, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Goff.
Yeah, very, very briefly, Madam Chair. Look, I'm really proud of the music industry in Auckland and what it's achieved for our city and for New Zealand. I think this is a way that we can help the industry. Picking up Councillor Watson's point about the branding of it, about its connectedness, about its international reputation. And I just want to assure councillors that this is about the industry. It's not about a mayoral junket, because I'll take Councillor Filipaina's advice on that. If we're to have representation at a UNESCO meeting, far better to have representation from the industry, paid for by the industry. This is something that's not going to cost us. We've had that assurance in the paper and we've had it orally, but it's something that we can do for the industry to pay them for what they have done for us many times over. So thank you, Mark, for your representations, and to our team. I support option 2.
Awesome. Thank you. And Councillor Simpson.
Look, a lot of it's been said, so I just want to say I also support this strongly. I think Auckland is very rich with its musical talent in many, many, many forms, not just multicultural, but across many types. And I think this is something the industry has put their hand up and said, look, you know, we can take this a step further. Will you partner with us? No cost. I do think it needs some political oversight. I just, you know, from my personal perspective, I'd just like to see some caution. Sorry, but a funding caution is my only real caution around that. I do notice that with Adelaide and what they've done, that there has been a greater federal investment into the arts as a result of their status. So I think that's something that we should take on board as well, because who knows from a central government perspective. But I totally support option 2, but I just would like that slight political oversight to have a look at the application and to take it sort of a step further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Right, I think that's everyone who wished to speak to the recommendation. We've just added a note, and this is a reasonably informal, but the opportunity to just work with the staff to have a look at some of the work as it's being done. We'll add that to the recommendations which have been moved and seconded. I'll put that. All those in favour?
Division.
By division. Crikey. Okay, there I was thinking it would be a joyful consensus decision. By division.
Councillor House?
Yes, aye.
Councillor Cashmore?
Yes.
Councillor Clow?
Yes.
Councillor Collins?
Or.
Councillor Cooper?
Or
Councillor Darby?
Or.
Mayor Goff?
In favour.
Councillor Filipaina?
Aye.
The Hills?
Yes, please.
Councillor Denise Lee?
Concentrate on that then.
Councillor Mike Lee?
Abstain.
Councillor Newman?
Aye.
Councillor Quacks?
No.
Councillor Simpson? Or Councillor Stewart?
No.
To John Walker? Councillor Wayne Walker?
Aye.
Councillor Watson?
Yes.
Member Wilcox?
Aye.
that was
That's
close.
carried. 2, 3, 4.